Hallo zusammen and welcome back to my little video series about learning German with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We're gonna dive back in to this little scene, this little conversation, which is laced with German phrases, expressions, words here and there. And it's great for you guys who want to learn German with games, for instance, or with things you like as much as I do. For instance, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So let's dive back in.
Where can I find a church round here? I'm surprised you don't even have a small chapel in the village.
If you want. Die Rettung deiner Seele, junger Mann. You have to go through the forest to Auch and to St. Katharinen.
Interesting choice of words, generally speaking. It makes sense in the context, though, of, faith and spirit and everything. He says, if you want. Die Rettung deiner Seele, junger Mann. You have to go through the forest. The phrase that he's saying in German here, Die Rettung deiner Seele, junger Mann, means the salvation of your soul, young man. And here, junger Mann is the exact equivalent to young man. So he could also have said lad in English. It's die Rettung, singular. Die Rettungen, plural, the salvation. And it's die Seele, singular. Die Seelen, plural, the soul. And der Mann, singular. Die Männer, plural, the man. Once again. And of course it's jung, young. And you may have noticed that there's a little part missing, at least I'd say. If you express this in German, you would also add a little term, a preposition, für, for. If you want, für die Rettung deiner Seele, junger Mann, musst du dorthin gehen. For the salvation of your soul, young man, you have to go there. You would also add something in German, so it's not wrong the way he said it, but it's a little bit elliptic or incomplete, if you will.
Die Rettung deiner Seele, junger Mann.
Also, you may have noticed something that I talked about in the first episode of this little video series, which is the possessive pronoun dein, or in this case, deiner, deiner Seele, your soul, being the informal form of address, if you will. So once again, he breaks the ice, he directly addresses Henry, and he builds a connection therefore. Truth be told though, some people just expect you to use the formal form of address because that is the way they want to be approached, and that's fine. Using the informal form in that scenario would be impolite, I guess, but I don't think that's the case here. It's just that I guess he wants to break the ice, like I said, and I think that's part of the idea why he chooses to go with the casual approach, the informal form of address.
Die Rettung deiner Seele, junger Mann. You have to go through the forest to Auch and to St. Katharinen. Herr von Bergow does have a chapel in his castle, but it's not for commoners like you.
This may once again be one of those phrases that you can easily understand, even though it's German. Herr von Bergow. The von, you may be familiar with that preposition once again. You may say von, Herr von Bergow, Herr von Bergow, if you wanted to express this in a very English way. It's a common part of, German nobility titles, for instance.
Herr von Bergow does have a chapel in his castle, but it's not for commoners like you. We do not go there either. Und warum auch?
I just love his delivery. He has a great melody to his voice as well. He just has a feel for the ebbs and flows of saying something, and I totally dig that. We do not go there either. Und warum auch? And why should we in the first place? Here, he uses something that he actually does in a few of the upcoming phrases as well. He makes use of modal particles, parts that underline other words within the same phrase, the same sentence. In this case, the auch, too, or as well, strengthens or underlines the warum, why.
Und warum auch?
And why should we? Adding the auch at the end instead of just saying und warum. It certainly adds a little bit of meaning. It's obvious why we shouldn't go there, because it's not for commoners,
And weddings usually take place without a local priest. No one wants to pay the church more than they have to. Das ist ja wohl klar.
No one wants to pay the church more than they have to. Das ist ja wohl klar. That is so obvious. That is totally clear. Great delivery once again, and a phrase that is quite common you know, you could very well hear that in daily German, in certain situations, of course. A certain modal particle is used here, Wohl. It doesn't have to be added, but once again, it adds to the flavor of the intended meaning.
Das ist ja wohl klar.
If you just were to say, das ist klar, it could also work, but it would just be, that is clear. But saying, das ist ja wohl klar, that underlines how clear it is. Like, there's not even a single trace of doubt left. To underline that even more, he does something that is quite atypical for ordinary German sentences. Usually, people go down with the voice at the end of a sentence, with the exception of, you know, raising a question, because then you would go up at the end, right? Or if you use a short imperative phrase like raus!
Raus, du Bastard!
But in German sentences, you wouldn't really have that. In this case, though, he goes up a little bit.
Das ist ja wohl klar.
Instead of saying, das ist ja wohl klar. So, klar is clear in the literal sense, also obvious. And, by the way, you guys may be familiar with the German Jawohl as one word, but don't confuse this with Jawohl as two words, the way it's used here, because Jawohl as one word is another, well, slang, colloquial form of saying ja, yes, jawohl.
Can I find other merchants around here?
Zum Glück nicht, junger Mann.
Zum Glück nicht, junger Mann. I am the only merchant here around Trotsky. I totally get that he's happy about that. No competition is the best competition, I guess. Is that a saying? I don't know. You know what I mean. Zum Glück nicht, junger Mann translates to fortunately not, young man or lad. Zum Glück means fortunately. And you can use that in a positive way. Zum Glück kann ich morgen in den Urlaub. Fortunately, I can go on vacation tomorrow. Or in a, well, indirectly negatively connotated way. Luckily, I don't have any competitor in my region or town.
Zum Glück nicht, junger Mann.
Zum Glück nicht, junger Mann. Fortunately not, young man. And I'm glad about that. That's exactly the way he's using it here. It's das Glück, only singular. The fortune, luck, and or happiness. If you were to translate it literally, zum Glück means to the luck, for zum being a German contraction. It's a mixture of zu, preposition to, and dem, the article. So it's zu dem Glück, to the luck. But in German, it's quite common to use a contraction, to not just say zu dem, but zum Glück.
They are hand in glove, or more like hat in hat.
What do you mean by that?
Nichts weiter. Just that they play at being educated men.
Nichts weiter. Just that they play at being educated men. Literally speaking, nichts weiter means nothing further, which I guess could apply here. He means it in the sense of, well, nothing specifically, or nothing too specific. Just that they play at being educated men.
Nichts weiter.
Nichts weiter wouldn't be wrong in today's, like, modern German, but I reckon there are other forms of saying that which are a bit more common. Nichts Besonderes. Nothing special for besonders, special. Thanks for watching so far. Tune back in to the next episode of this little video series of Learning German with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And with that being said, definitely tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.